You're 3 weeks postpartum, you haven't slept more than 2 hours in a row. Your baby will only sleep on you. They want breastfed constantly throughout the night, and every time you try and put them down in the little next to your bed, they scream and they wake up. Nah, you're not going to get any sleep tonight. You go on TikTok or Instagram, you swipe and you see, oh, is your baby not sleeping? Well, if you pay me £500, I will give you a sleep plan and your baby will sleep through the night. Well, the BBC this week revealed that is exactly what is going on behind closed doors. They did an undercover investigation, and what they found is pretty shocking. Not because the sleep advice doesn't work per se, but because the advice that they're giving kills babies. In an undercover investigation published this week, the BBC have filmed secret conversations with two self-described sleep experts, sleep consultants, Alison Scott Wright, known as the Magic Sleep Fairy, I think on Instagram, and Lisa Clegg, who is the Blissful Baby Sleep Expert coach. Between them, they have over 136,000 Instagram followers, celebrity endorsements, published books, and they charge hundreds and hundreds of pounds just for one consultation. What the undercover footage shows was alarming. Scott Wright, the baby sleep fairy lady, she advised a new mother to place her newborn baby to sleep on its front, a newborn baby. And if you don't know the context and why that's dangerous, I will come back to that in just a moment. Lisa Clegg was also filmed recommending that rolled up towels and loose muslins should be placed inside a baby's cot to sort of hold them in place. An NHS paediatrician, Dr. Lily Parker, she responded and she reviewed all of this footage. She described the advice as incredibly dangerous. Both sleep consultants have responded, and Scott Wright, the sleep fairy, said that she never claimed to be a medical professional and that her advice has helped lots of families. That's her advice to being caught out on this. Clegg said that none of her advice has been dangerous, but experts, the Lullaby Trust, all these charities, the health sector have all condemned what this investigation has found because it's serious. Here is a critical issue at the heart of this. The baby sleep consulting industry in the UK is completely unregulated. If you go on TikTok, anyone can pose as a sleep trainer or a sleep coach, a holistic sleep coach even, the ones that sound really nice. I follow them and I have followed them, and it's led me down some rabbit holes that I don't want to relive, to be honest, and have ruined my mental health for months at a time. Anyone with any level of training or no accreditations, they can call themselves a sleep expert, maternity nurse, sleep consultant, whatever they want to call themselves, and they can charge hundreds of pounds for vulnerable parents who just want someone to help them because they're desperate and they're exhausted. There is no licensing body, there is no qualification about baby sleep. No one's going to check their work. Let's talk about the science and why this is so important, why it's so dangerous. Well, front sleeping advice is profoundly dangerous because the science here is one of the clearest stories in the history of public health. In the 1980s in the UK, about 2,000 babies were dying suddenly and unexpectedly every year. There was no reason for them to die. They hadn't had any other conditions. These deaths were recorded as sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, and at the time it was more commonly known as cot death. Researchers in the Netherlands and New Zealand identified that babies who slept on their front, on their stomachs, had significantly higher risk of cot death or SIDS. Professor Peter Fleming from the University of Bristol ran a national study confirming the same finding. And in 1991, the UK government launched what it called the Back to Sleep campaign, a national public health campaign to drive parents to place babies on their back to sleep instead of their front. And the results of this public health drive were one of the biggest success stories in public health in the UK. The rate of SIDS in England and Wales fell by 81% in the years that followed. 81%. The Back to Sleep campaign is estimated to have saved 17,000 lives in the UK alone. I've actually got goosebumps just saying that because that's crazy. The Lullaby Trust is clear on this data. A baby placed on its front to sleep is 6 times more likely at risk of SIDS than a baby who's placed on its back. 6 times more likely. The really sad context that started this investigation was that a 4-month-old baby was placed on his stomach to sleep, an unsafe sleeping position, and died. The coroner concluded that this happened on the advice of someone who described themselves as a maternity nurse, a role that actually has no backing. It doesn't mean that they're a registered midwife. The family of this baby are calling for mandatory training for anyone who provides for paid sleep care for children and more regulation. This isn't a technicality, this isn't a minor quibble over parenting philosophy. Do you co-sleep or do you put them in their cot? It's more important, it's more specific than that telling parents that they should place their newborn baby on their front to sleep, that could cost a baby their life. Let's look at ourselves and our own expectations. The reason why sleep trainers are selling these impossible promises is because there's such a huge market here. The cultural expectation in the UK is that a good baby sleeps all night through. They don't wake up, they don't cry. That is the goal of good parenting, is a baby who's quiet, self-settles, doesn't wake up, doesn't cry, just sleeps all the time, is no issue. Those are not based in biology at all. Those are cultural expectations that have been put on us. Those practices are a result of like 19th, 20th century Britain, where babies were really prized and pushed to be independent, and parents were really stoic about it and didn't respond. That became the cultural norm, and there's no scientific basis for any of these ideas. Professor Helen, she's the director of the Durham Infancy and Sleep Centre. She was quoted in the BBC coverage. She spent most of her life covering baby sleep, infant sleep. If you know anything about co-sleeping or breast sleeping, all these sorts of terms, you may well recognise Dr. Ball. Here is what she says the research tells us. Human babies are born with brains that are only a quarter of their eventual adult size. They're very dependent. They are completely helpless mammals. They just rely on milk. Milk digests very, very quickly. And we've got big brains that run off glucose, just digest like that. Night waking is not a problem to be solved. It's a biological feature of what it means to be a baby. Critically, research finds that sleep consolidation, the ability to sleep longer stretches, to consolidate sleep cycles, only happens in about 1 in 3 babies by about 4 months old when they go through this sleep progression. But the majority still wake up between sleep cycles. They struggle to link those sleep cycles day and night, regardless of what you do. And trust me, I've had 2 babies now. The 4-month sleep regression, it happens, and then your baby wakes up every 2 hours until one day they decide that they can do it on their own. They will one day. Babies wake up because they're hungry, they're alone, they're scared, they need comfort, they're cold, they're learning a new skill like rolling or crawling. They wake because they're biologically wired to be close to a caregiver, particularly their mother. It's not a flaw, it's design, it keeps them safe. If you know anything about the biology of sleep with a mother and baby dyad, is that basically their heart rate, their breathing, everything links up. Even their brain waves link up and they sync, so that if mum wakes up from a sleep cycle, so does baby, and vice versa. If a baby is in light, shallow sleep, that baby is much safer and is at less risk of SIDS, because deep sleep means they're not going to be roused easily. So actually it's preventative, and it's a good thing if your baby wakes up a lot. The market for baby sleep consultants exists because parents are exhausted, they're scared, they're inundated with messaging saying that you're wrong, your baby needs to go to sleep, and frankly, I think it is pretty sick. Their culture tells them that their baby's broken and they're a problem that needs to be solved. Sleep deprivation is real and it's serious. I have been there. It can ruin your mental health. But the answer to that is not signing off £600 for a FaceTime with a sleep consultant who's going to give you dangerous parenting advice that could put your child 6 times at risk of SIDS. What we need to really adjust is our expectation and understanding about what is the biological norm of baby sleep, what should a baby be doing, and how should we respond to that in a way that means that we can get up the next morning, we can communicate with our partner effectively. That's what we need to focus on. But the answer comes down to better support for parents, better education, realistic expectations, and honest information. So what does the evidence actually say about safe baby sleep? How do you spot advice that isn't aligned to this? First of all, safe sleep. The go-to place is the NHS website and the Lullaby Trust website. Always put your baby down on their back. You should do this for the first 12 months of life. This applies to babies who have reflux too. Evidence shows that babies are actually safer on their back even if they have reflux. Use a firm, flat, clear mattress. Make sure that the cot is completely clear of any loose items, no towels, no muslins, no comforters, nothing that's going to hold your baby in place. Room share for the first 6 months of life. Sharing a room alone can halve the risk of SIDS because, as I said earlier, being near their caregiver, they can link up breathing patterns and heart rate and all these sorts of physical things that keep them safe and keep them in a lighter state of sleep. Keep your room at a comfortable temperature, about 20 degrees. Mine is currently at 21. And keep your baby smoke free. It's currently 10:30 at night and I'm like hoping my baby stays asleep because she doesn't sleep very well. If anyone is ever giving you advice on baby sleep, First of all, take it with a big pinch of salt. And secondly, most importantly, is does their advice align with what the NHS and or the Lullaby Trust say about safe sleeping? If not, ignore it. They probably aren't very educated about what the current safe sleep advice is. The most important thing is that it saves lives. It has saved 17,000 babies' lives. If your baby is waking in the night, it's not a failure. It's not you, it's not them, and it's definitely not a problem that you need to pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds to fix. It is a normal thing that your baby does and will do probably for a few months. And studies also show, because it's completely on a tangent, but studies show that baby sleep is not linear. Just because they're getting older does not mean that they're going to improve in their sleep. Unfortunately, illnesses, teething, my baby's teething, she's waking up every half an hour at the moment because she's in pain. It is not linear. There's so much that babies go through in the first year, especially 2 years of life, that mean that your baby's sleep will be all over the place. That is unfortunately just a realistic expectation that parents need to know about. So I hope you like this video. If you have any comments or questions about it, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. Please don't leave any dangerous advice in the comments. I will be deleting anything that is dangerous. I hope you like this video. Please do hit like and subscribe. Follow along. I'm making loads of different research-based parenting videos, and I hope you see you around for another video. See you later.